Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Bank Shot Breakdown. We're going to go over 4 college basketball games for Monday, January 8th, 2024. And if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my college basketball bank shot best bet, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Monday in college basketball. First up, we see Howard and South Carolina State. This one's going to be 7:30 Eastern. Now, I haven't really been in love with the way Howard has looked as of late. This team has lost 5 of its last 6 games, and while it's scheduled, some tougher games as of late, they played Yale, they played UC Santa Barbara. They also played some winnable games against Jackson State and Texas Southern out of the SWAC, and North Carolina Central. Their first conference game of the season was not really a competitive one, 73-54. I know it was a true road game, but so is this one. And while Howard, I do think, is the better team, I don't really trust this team laying points right now. I mean, South Carolina State, while it's a inexperienced team and not a great team talent-wise, it's still a team that played a really tough non-conference schedule. Much tougher than Howard's in my opinion. And also, this is a South Carolina State team that fundamentally is pretty solid. They're a really good offensive rebounding team, and they force a ton of turnovers defensively. So while they're not a great shooting team, they make up for it in other areas like those offensive rebounds, and they should get a lot of second chance looks in this game. Howard is ranked 300th in the country in defensive rebounding percentage. So I think this is actually a decent matchup for South Carolina State, who played most of their games so far this season on the road. They get a home game in this one. I think they'll bounce back from the loss against Norfolk. Norfolk, one of the best teams in this conference the last decade or so, and that was a competitive game, only a 7-point loss. I think South Carolina State has a chance at the outright upset in this one, so give me the points here with South Carolina State at home. Next up, we see Houston Christian taking on Texas A&M Corpus Christi. This one's going to be an 8 p.m. Eastern start time on ESPN+. Now, I think because of these teams' records on paper, we see Corpus Christi overvalued in this spot. I think this is just a case of too many points. Yes, Corpus Christi 8-6 this season. They opened conference play with a double-digit victory over Incarnate Word, while Houston Christian is 2-10 this year overall and lost its first game in conference play. I still think when you look at Corpus Christi's resume and strength of schedule, I mean, they have 4 victories over subdivision teams, so half their wins are against teams not in Division I college hoops. And then their other victories, a solid win, an upset win against UTEP back on November 29th on the road, but you beat Omaha, UT Rio Grande Valley, and Incarnate Word. Nothing really crazy in those victories. And, I think Corpus Christi is a solid team, but Houston Christian's played the much, much tougher schedule, 5th toughest in overall in Division I college hoops and non-conference play. So Houston Christian is really battle-tested. They've been against much tougher teams than Texas A&M Corpus Christi this year. They were on the road against BYU, Oklahoma State, TCU, even Rice is kind of a challenge, and Texas, SMU. So a lot of the regional teams, Texas A&M, all in these true road games. And while they don't have a win over a Division I team yet, they were competitive in their first conference game against Nichols. That went to overtime, 98-94. I think Houston Christian is going to be competitive in this game as well. I like teams that are battle-tested, even on the road. This team's played on the road most of the year, so I don't think it's going to be intimidating. I think Corpus Christi is a fine team, but I do think they're overvalued because of that record. I think Houston Christian a lot more battle-tested. So give me the points here with Houston Christian. I think Corpus Christi wins, but Houston Christian covers. Next up, we see Texas Southern and Grambling. This one's going to be an 8:30 Eastern start time. Now, these have been 2 solid teams in this conference last decade or so, but, more so Texas Southern. I mean, this is a team that we saw them in the NCAA tournament again last year, and year after year, they're usually the favorite or one of the favorites to win the conference. They've been to the NCAA tournament a few times in the last few seasons, and when you look at the number right now, the opening number for this game, a lot of pick'ems. I see a couple of spots where Grambling's a 0.5 point favorite. It makes sense. This should be a competitive game, but I'm going to go with the experience and the great head coach and Johnny Jones at Texas Southern, a team that usually plays really well in conference play, like I said. And while their first game in SWAC action was not great against Southern, they only put up 51 points in a loss. I like Texas Southern to bounce back here. Offensively, not a great team, especially shooting the ball. They're a team that takes care of the basketball better than most SWAC teams, and they're a decent offensive rebounding team, but the shots just aren't falling for Texas Southern right now. It's their 361st in effective field goal percentage, but they're creating pretty good looks. Now, the defense is really solid. It's one of the best defenses in the conference, and it's top 200 nationally, which you don't see often from SWAC teams, but they're ranked inside the top 200 in two-point defense as well, which is important because Grambling gets a lot of its points from two-point range. 59.6% of Grambling's points, 2-point field goals. It's 11th most in the country. So I like that Texas Southern is able to defend the 2-point shot. And I think in a game like this, PJ Henry is the best player on the court for both teams. I think he's a difference maker, a guy who can take over a game. And I look for him to have a big one in this one. So give me Texas Southern. I'm going to take him on the money line. Next up, we see Alabama A&M taking on Mississippi Valley State. This one's going to be an 8:30 Eastern start time as well. Now, Mississippi Valley State, we faded them a few times in non-conference play. We talked about them a few times in non-conference play and mentioned that while I didn't love their chances in a few of those games, I thought that because of that really tough non-conference schedule, we were going to get a few, value spots with them in conference play, especially in these home games. And we saw that in the opening game of conference play or a SWAC play for Mississippi Valley State against Alabama State. Alabama State was a double-digit favorite in that game, but the Delta Devils of Mississippi Valley played very well. They had a lead in the second half, pretty late in the second half of that ball game. And while they lost the game in the end, it was only a 54-51 final score. The defense played really well in that one, and Mississippi Valley State covered with ease. I think, the book's catching on a little bit now with this spread at 7.5 points at the opening number, but I still think there's value with the Delta Devils in this one. They played the second toughest non-conference schedule, playing 13 true road games against a lot of really tough programs. Gonzaga, Baylor, Liberty, North Texas, LSU, Oklahoma, UConn, TCU. Not only really good teams, but just all over the country, West Coast, the South, all over the place. Mississippi Valley State really battle-tested. This is a young team, one of the youngest teams in Division I hoops. But now they play a home game against, a conference rival in Alabama A&M and a team that I don't really trust laying a big number like this. While they won their first game in conference play against Pine Bluff, that was only a 1-point victory. You get 1 day off in between their second straight true road game. It's an Alabama A&M team that does a good job of getting to the free throw line. They force turnovers. They're a pretty good offensive rebounding team, but their shooting numbers aren't great. They turn the ball over a ton. Their defense is not really trustworthy, so I can't lay this many points. I think Mississippi Valley State has an outright chance at earning their first W of the season, but at least I think they cover the number in this game. I think it's going to be a close one, probably a similar score to that Alabama State game between Mississippi Valley and Alabama State. So give me the points here with the Delta Devils at home. And that's it. Those are the games for Monday in college hoops. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pickdawgz Premium, and there's a link in the description. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.